So where do I find my extracted weapons and gear that I have obtained from the Dark Zone? What do I do with buffs and special ammunitions, and how can I become a better agent in the Division? And what are these Dark Zone keys, and what in the world do I do with food and water? Well, good question indeed. Well, hello there my fellow agents, what's happening? It's Robbie with Overworld Games, and here we go. Over 10 tips and tricks for Tom Clancy The Division to get you started. Ready? Let's do this. So I'm going to have the most important tips up front and center, and this one is one that I found a lot of players at the event in LA scratching their heads over at first. So where do you find your extracted weapons and gear from the Dark Zone? So after you extract your weapons via helicopter in the Dark Zone, they will be found back at your base of operations in your stash. Now this is a crate found right when you enter your base. You can then access it, go to the extracted items tab, and obtain them. Now some of them may be too high of a rank for you to use, so you may eventually have to rank up, of course. But that is the way you gain your extracted loot. And of course, to extract the loot, you need to be in the Dark Zone. You could still loot from other players, gather it from loot crates. You just head to an extraction zone within the Dark Zone. Use a flare by holding down, I believe it's X on the Xbox One controller or square on the PS4 controller. And then a helicopter will arrive, and then you can extract your loot by attaching your yellow bag to the rope. Now, when it comes to game mechanics, this is not a run and gun affair. You will want to definitely take cover at all times, especially before engaging an enemy. And of course, there is that rolling mechanic, but trust me, you want to use that more as a last resort. Taking cover is really what this game is all about. This is a cover shooter. It's more of an RPG than anything else. In fact, it is wise to have someone in your group using the smart cover ability to give defensive bonuses to players in cover. This is an excellent tactic, especially when it comes to harder enemies. And you know, if you are facing off against a group in the Dark Zone, this is very, very useful. Now, another thing that a lot of players end up doing is neglecting buffs, grenade types, and special ammunition. You know, in the heat of battle, you can easily lose track of using these things. For example, did you know the EMP grenades can disrupt enemies from using their special abilities? So, if you find a tough enemy around the corner who has lackeys using turrets all the time, disrupt them with the EMP grenade. This is extremely helpful with discouraging those enemies. And don't forget about consumables like water and energy bars, all of which apply specific healing effects and buffs for defense. Now on the attack side of things, you can equip explosive or incendiary rounds. They are on a timer though, so use them carefully. Hold down left or right on your D-pad on consoles. I don't know what the command is on PC, but that is how you access these buffs on consoles. It's sort of hidden there, so you actually may miss out on that. But, you know, you may not use water or food at all, so you can go up to a civilian, give them water or food or whatever you have, and in return, you'll be gifted credits or clothing items. This is a pretty sweet mechanic, and I'm curious to see if eventually you'll find that civilian that will give you like an ultra rare weapon or something like that. But when in a group, it is really wise to specialize. For example, it's best to have a dedicated medic, a tank-like character, and someone to go on the offense. You'll also want to consider someone that can tackle enemies from a long distance. I found this extremely helpful, especially when you get in engagements in the Dark Zone and the rogue agent ends up running away from your group. You can have someone snipe him and take him down in that manner. And it's wise to have a player that can also use the light machine gun, as it can actually suppress enemies. You'll notice that it says suppressed above their head, and they can do nothing. And that way you can actually outflank them and outmaneuver them with someone constantly laying fire down on them. And if you aren't in a group, no sweat. Head to the safe houses and hub zone. Click your right analog stick when looking at another player, and you will have the option to group up. Bam, that was easy. You'll notice there are 4 hit indicators when firing upon your enemy. White counts as a normal hit. The blue numbers are hits against armor, which you'll want to avoid. Now red is a critical hit, and finally orange is going to be your headshots. This game is going to be all about the headshot, so that's something you're going to want to tackle no matter what. Like everything in the division, the hotter or more orange the color, the better. This also applies for weapons, armor, and other gear pieces, so rare items and weapons are orange and hot colors, so just remember that when sorting through your menu. That also applies for crafting components as well. Now, specializing will also make upgrading your base of operations a bit more manageable at first, so I recommend doing that, especially in the beginning of the game, so you can invest into one wing and not really become a jack of all trades. I mean, you could become a jack of all trades, but if you're in a group, I really wouldn't recommend it. But investing into one wing will allow you to dive deeper into that specialized character, so you can invest heavily into the medical wing and eventually unlock all the perks, talents, and skills associated with that. So discuss with your group what characters will complement one another before heading out in the field. This is especially great for the Dark Zone when facing off against other players. So when heading into the Dark Zone, remember there will be 3 different lootable crates that require a certain Dark Zone rank to unlock, regular chests which will be opened with no limitations, and crates that require Dark Zone keys. But Robbie, how do I obtain Dark Zone keys? What is this madness? You'll need to kill other players and rogue agents and high-level enemies that will drop these at random, so look out for them. By the way, in the world of the Division, you will stumble upon crates that actually offer medical supplies, security supplies, and tech supplies. These are going to be useful for upgrading your base of operations, so whatever you do, loot the heck out of these two. Now, I recommend not going rogue in the beginning of your journeys in the Dark Zone. It might be tempting to go rogue, trust me, it is a ton of fun. But going rogue can actually hurt your progress in the Dark Zone. You lose Dark Zone credits and a bit of Dark Zone rank, plus Dark Zone keys. Remember, your Dark Zone rank fluctuates, so if you die as a rogue agent, you lose progress. So just be very, very careful about that. And also, be careful about venturing further north in the Dark Zone as you go, as it will require a higher rank. And yes, if you are not prepared and not ranked up enough, you will be dying a lot. So you have been warned. But Robbie, what are these stats called firearms, stamina, and electronics? Well, okay, let me break that down for you really fast. So firearms will increase the damage of your weapons. Stamina will increase your overall health. And the most interesting one, in my opinion, is electronics, which will in turn increase your skill power. Now, skill power will increase the effects of all of your abilities and skills. So it's very important to upgrade. So if you want your pulse scan to be more long-reaching and have a longer duration and that sort of thing, then this is what you want to upgrade. It applies to everything, your medical abilities, all of it. Now, to upgrade your firearms, stamina, and electronics, you will need to find gear pieces that have these associated stats. And get this is really cool. There are weapon talents attached to weapons as well. These weapon talents are permanent fixtures to your weapon, so they make certain weapons very, very special, but they do require an X amount of stamina, firearms, or electronics, so you'll want to collect certain gear pieces to unlock that weapon talent and upgrade your character too. So as you can see how important it is that you really pay attention to these stats associated to your gear to obtain that weapon talent. There's tons of weapon talents out there. Some that give you a big boost to criticals, some that give you resistances and that sort of thing. So you really, again, want to pay attention to those. Do not neglect them. So there it is, over 10 tips and tricks for surviving the world of Tom Clancy's The Division. Mid-crisis, New York City is definitely a very harsh place. Let me know what you guys think of The Division. It is finally happening, coming out March 8th on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I cannot wait for the full game. Thanks guys for watching. Subscribe for more if you are new and if you want constant updates about Tom Clancy The Division. And I will see you guys in the Dark Zone.